Hey up, it's Steve from the old Yorkshire Geek, and a bit of news today about Star Trek. You may have seen my review earlier on today about Season 2, Episode 2 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, that was the title. I've put the link in the description, and the link for the article that we're about to read is also in the description. Spoilers, if you haven't seen it yet, there's a major change to the timeline, to the official canon Star Trek timeline. Anyway, Cinema Blend have done an article about it, so I'm going to read that to you. As I said, links in the description. And don't forget, like and subscribe, share the videos, drop a comment, hit the notification bell if you're subscribed already. I'm also on Rumble, Spotify, and Amazon Music Podcasts and Google Podcasts. My live streams are on Twitch as well as Rumble and YouTube. I'm also on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Links are in the description for all that stuff, as are the links for my 2 books. Silent Predator, a short horror novella about big cats roaming around North Yorkshire doing all sorts of big catty type things, and Mercury Rapids, a light-hearted sci-fi action adventure about UFOs and stuff and lasers and pew-pews and all stuff like that. It's all a bit of fun. They're on Amazon, Kindle and paperbacks. So anyway, there we go. So give them a go. Kindle's cheaper, obviously. Right, let's get this article up and let's have a look at it. When I find the bugger. There we go. What's that doing down there? I put it all the way up to the top and it's gone all the way back to the bottom again. There we go. Cinema Blend, as I said. Oh, you can't see, never mind. How Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 2's latest episodes majorly changed the timeline and what the showrunner has to say about it. Again, warning, spoilers for this episode. If you've not seen it, go and watch it and then come back if you want to. If you don't want to, that's fine as well. Anyway, we've come a long way from the original series, and there's the lovely Christina Chong as La'an Noonien Singh. Why do I want? I'm almost erming out. I'm terrible at it. Never mind. It's just the way I am. Right, warning. The following contains major spoilers for the Star Trek Strange New Worlds episode Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. Read at your own risk. I'm at my own risk. I'm reading. Star Trek Strange New World showrunners have promised change, though I'd question if anyone in the fandom was prepared for what they had in mind. I've kind of said that they are remaking Star Trek in their own image. For a while now, anyway, viewers might have already been on high alert for some shenanigans when they learned that Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow was a time travel episode featuring Paul Wesley's James Kirk and Christina Chong's La'an Noonien Singh, but I'm not sure they were ready for just what we'd see change. By the end of this episode, which you can watch right now with a Paramount Plus subscription, the Star Trek lore has been forever changed. We now have new timelines for the eugenics wars and World War III. They kind of already did that in the pilot episode way back in Season 1. But anyway, it was briefly mentioned. And we can both break it down and explain why this has happened with the help of a previous chat Cinema Blend had about Season 2 with co-showrunner Akiva Goldsman. And there they are again. That's a scene from the episode where they travel back in time unexpectedly. Right, Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow got rolling with La'an thrown into an alternate timeline after a brief conversation with a man who handed her a device. She walked to the bridge of an Enterprise captained by James T. Kirk, a captain in the United Earth Fleet. Spoilers, why did this man appear on the Enterprise? We're on Earth in the 21st century, and then gets shot, presumably by the bad guy. Well, I'll not say who that is, the bad person, should I say. Of the episode, presumably. And we don't know why did he go to La'an in particular, you know, I don't know. Maybe because she's a Noonien Singh and that had something to do with the episode. Anyway, I forgot where I want now. After a brief conversation confirming they were not from the same timeline, La'an pressed the device and transported herself and alternate Kirk back to present-day Toronto. I thought it was accidental, because they were kind of struggling over it, and I think the button got pressed accidentally. Anyway, it took some time, but the duo eventually sussed out they were sent back in time in an effort to prevent alternate Kirk's timeline from happening. In that timeline, there's kind of a war that's going on, a devastating war with the Romulans, and it seems like the Romulans kind of have the upper hand, and Earth's been decimated, and even Vulcan's struggling. There's no Federation, by the way. and no Starfleet, just like the Earth fleet. Anyway, with the help of an alien-loving photographer named Sarah, it's not Sarah, it's Sera, S-E-R-A. If you watch it with the subtitles, you'll know. Kirk ultimately remembered a cold fusion explosion in Toronto that threw his past into chaos. And La'an said that never happened in her timeline. Kirk and La'an made their way to Pelia in the United States. Don't know how they got through customs. Anyway, for help in figuring out where the cold fusion device was stored, and then returned to Toronto to stop the explosion. To be honest, I don't know what the border's like between America and Canada. Maybe you can just drive straight through. I don't know. Do they check your passports? No idea. Unfortunately, La'an and alternate universe Kirk were stopped at gunpoint by Sera, who was not a human photographer from Toronto after all. She was a Romulan time agent from the future who was sent back to this era under the instruction of computers that determine the odds of change that will have a lasting impact on the timeline. We ultimately learn that she was sent back to find a way to halt humanity's progression as much as possible. I'm sure they just mean computers and not like AIs, because they don't like AIs, do they, Romulans? We learned that in Picard. Whew. Right, we will continue. It's a video, I'm not live, but I don't care, and I'm not going to edit it. Who gives a monkeys? After Toronto does not explode due to the cold fusion reactor like it did in alternate Kirk's timeline, Sera goes for plan B. I don't know why, to be honest. She just decides it. Her plan, as La'an finds out when she arrives at the room, is to kill a child by the name of Khan Noonien Singh. Yes, he's that Khan. And yes, if you're a classic Star Trek fan, this is confusing. Khan was supposed to already be off Earth following the eugenics wars. And so what's going on? If you remember, he was lost in space aboard the Botany Bay from the year 1996. Remember? Sarah explained that as various species mess with time and try to impact and alter events, time has seemingly responded and found ways to make fixed events happen regardless. She went on to say, this should have happened in 1992, which may imply she was originally sent back in time to kill Khan when he was ruling over a quarter of Asia ahead of the eugenics wars. By the way, they're talking about when species mess with time. Is that a reference to the... whatchamacallit, I forgot what they call it now. Temporal Cold War that we saw in Star Trek Enterprise? Possibly. That didn't happen, and it appears that various time meddling has forever altered and pushed forward the timeline in which the eugenics wars and World War III happened. We do know, of course, that both events happened as they were instrumental to the construction of Starfleet and the modern Federation. To sum it up, Star Trek Strange New Worlds pushed forward the major events of Trek. Well, no, pushed them back, didn't they? You pull things forward, whatever. Anyway, pushed them back as they happened later, so that they no longer happen in the years that have since passed. Some Star Trek fans may initially look at this change and think it's blasphemy. You know who you are, RMB. The truth of the matter is the franchise has struggled across many of its shows to maintain the original timeline of the eugenics wars. Star Trek Voyager went back to the 20th century without recognising it. Was it the 20th or was it the early 21st? Whatever. But yes, they never even mentioned it, I don't think. The episode where they got the Doctor's mobile emitter, that episode... I forgot what they call it now. Future's End, it was called. It was a 2-part and a decent episode. I'm not a big fan of time travel episodes as a rule, but I quite enjoyed that one. Anyway, Picard Season 2 took place in present-day San Francisco without any real indication that it ever happened, as in the eugenics wars. No. The signs were even there in the Strange New Worlds pilot, in which Pike showed footage of the January 6th Capitol insurrection. Of course, in his video about what led to Earth's darkest days. I reckon if that fella hadn't have gone on the January 6th insurrection with his horns on and all that and his face painted, nobody would give a monkeys about it. But because that were good TV, him in his get-up, everybody wants to see it. Anyway, there's a clear intention by Star Trek's decision makers to reset when La'an's ancestor Khan rose to power and when the eugenics wars and World War III happened. Akiva Goldsman spoke to Cinema Blend about the change in greater depth below. This is a correction, quote, because otherwise it's silly or Star Trek ceases to be in our universe. It's not really in our universe, though, is it? Really? Really? It may have been Roddenberry's initial intention for it to be, our future, a hopeful future, but it's not, is it? It's an aspirational future that we should aspire to it happening. Anyway, by the way, this happened in season 1, so this is not a season 2 issue. It's a pilot issue. It's a pilot issue. We once started, it was in the pilot episode of Star Trek: Strange New Worlds, when they went to that planet, accidentally making first contact, and Pike had to show what happened on Earth and how Earth had struggled in its past, but they got through it because this world was in danger of destroying itself. So they had to show how Earth got through its struggles, and in that it mentioned like the eugenics wars and World War III, kind of in the same breath. They said there were the eugenics wars and then World War III, as though they were like next to each other. When in traditional Star Trek canon, they were like decades apart. Anyway. I forgot where we want. We want to be able. We want Star Trek to be an aspirational future. Oh, like I've just said. We want to be able to dream our way into the Federation as a Starfleet. I think that is the fun of it, in part. And so, in order to keep Star Trek in our timeline, we continue to push dates forward. At a certain point, we won't be able to. But obviously, if you start saying that the eugenics wars were in the 90s, you're kind of effed for aspirational in terms of the real world. I say, what happens when we get to the year 2063 and the Vulcans don't show up? But what if they do? That'll be even weirder, won't it? Beyond the idea of addressing past inconsistencies of Star Trek, Akiva Goldsman and fellow showrunner Henry Alonso Myers felt it was imperative to alter the dates of these key in-universe events in order to keep the aspirational part of the series alive. With the dates officially pushed forward, we can now all say that the future of Star Trek is still possible in our world, provided we can work to get there. That's it. In my sort of headcanon, the temporal Cold War and Star Trek First Contact kind of mucked up the original series canon. That's how I look at it. The Borg are going to Earth in the 21st century, and then the temporal Cold War with all the shenanigans going on there. I think that's kind of messed up the timeline a bit, in my opinion. So they basically can do anything they want now. But anyway, where were we? I've seen it said before by fans that Star Trek exists in a different universe than our own. This change makes the reality of Trek being a looking glass to our future viable again, even if it'll take some time to get there. Granted, it also signals the possibility of some dark days ahead for our immediate future, which is not a future I know I'm looking forward to. So for anyone still trying to spin a yarn and come up with an alternate explanation, no, there is no possibility the 90s timeline of original events is still in play. It's been obliterated, partly by temporal meddling by various civilizations, and by showrunners who thought it was past time that Star Trek be brought up to speed and push forward events that we on Earth have yet to encounter ourselves, which is fair enough. It's in a different timeline. The original series is in a completely different timeline to what we're seeing now. That's how I look at it. It's still there because they'll watch it and love it and enjoy it, but it's in a different timeline. Right, in my opinion. One upside of this change is that it now opens the door for Paramount to do a miniseries or film that's centred around either event, assuming that's something the studio would want to do. Obviously, Star Trek likes to lean more on the positive side of humanity, so visiting what's canonically the worst moments in human history could be iffy. I don't think modern Star Trek likes to lean on the positive side of humanity because they're always saying how terrible humans are. Yeah, they're always saying it, even though it's supposed to be this utopian society. But anyway, I suppose the society is, but they're saying that people are still, horrible. Which they're not really supposed to be, are they? We're supposed to have evolved. Anyway, the important takeaway here is that moving both events forward on the timeline, or backward, whatever, Opened the door for a lot of possibilities, maybe even a Wrath of Khan remake. Did I take it too far with that suggestion? I mean, we already have a Section 31 movie on the way. Possibly. Is it so crazy to believe that a movie like that is out of the question? No, because I think they're going to remake the original series. I think they're just going to carry on with Strange New Worlds, possibly, because it's got the original series theme, as I mentioned in my review. Strange New Worlds theme is essentially just Alexander Courage's Star Trek theme, sort of like jazzed up a bit. Much, as I said, much like Murray Gold did with the Doctor Who theme, when Russell T Davies took over. He did amazing things with the Doctor Who theme and, made it cool. It was cool already, but it made it cooler. And I think that's what Strange New Worlds is doing, and I think they're going to carry it on. And I suspect soon, maybe at the end of this season or the end of season 3, probably. I'm going to say the end of season 3. This is my prediction, probably totally wrong. I think Pike's going to leave the Enterprise, go on and do his training, teaching at the Academy, which is going to lead to his, his accident. And I think Kirk's going to take over the Enterprise, the Paul Wesley Kirk, and then we're going to see a new original series, if you know what I mean. A new 5-year mission. Don't know how many seasons it'll go, but I think that's what they're going to do. And possibly even remake some of the classic episodes, which will probably get people angry. It depends if they do it well or not, but sometimes you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. Anyway, Star Trek Strange New Worlds airs new episodes of Season 2 on Paramount Plus on Thursdays. By the way, I saw on my YouTube thing today, Season 2, Episode 1 of Strange New Worlds is on YouTube for free. So there you go. Catch up on Season 2 before next week's episode arrives, and check out some other Trek shows available to stream on the platform, but not Star Trek Prodigy, because that's gone. Unbelievable. Right, so that's that. Yes, so as I've said, I think it's a new timeline, and it's going to be the timeline going forward. The original series timeline is no more. It's still there, obviously, we can still watch it, but, I mean, that has been, ultimately eradicated from modern Trek, and I think they're going to remake it, and people won't like that. But it depends how they do it. If they do it well, fine, But I think some people will not accept it, even if it's amazing. they'll not accept it. They'll say it's a rewriting of canon, which it is. It is a rewriting of canon. But they're updating it, I suppose you could say. But they're trying to keep it as our future, not an aspiration. Well, not a fictional future. They're trying to keep it as an aspirational future that we can aspire to. But that's my opinion. Right. We'll leave it there. Go and watch the episode. I really enjoyed it. It's my favourite episode of Season 2 so far. I know we're only 3 episodes in, but I really enjoyed it. And I thought I wasn't going to, because I'm not a fan, as a rule, of time travel episodes. But this was really good. Really enjoyed it. It was actually very cinematic. I found it really cinematic. I was watching it thinking, this could be a film. And it was quite a long episode. It was about an hour long. So, yes, it was really good. It was really good. Right, we'll leave it there. So I'll get rid of that. There we go. So thanks for watching, and wherever you are, look after each other, and until next time, I'll see thee.